what else can we extrapolate from this model?
Equal amounts of mass and consciousness helps us conclude that life must exist throughout the universe, an idea that supports the quest to discover life on other planets. That reminds me, I wrote a sci-fi movie script at one time that included ideas from this theory. The first half takes place in this time period, and then as it transitions to the future, there are several futuristic ideas being explained in a voiceover. Of course, it's just collecting dust, but one of the technological advances was a set of concentric ring space telescopes, thousands of miles apart, in a cone shape, sending information to a centralized larger telescope back to Earth, capable of focusing in on planet surfaces outside our solar system. I dubbed it the Eye in the Sky, with a feed to the Sky Eye channel for anyone to watch on TV, as astronomers focus in on alien planets. In the year 2095, an advanced civilization similar to ours is finally viewed, and there's worldwide celebrations, much like the celebrations that occurred after the landing of a man on the moon.
Cool. What are some of the other future visions that you have?
One of them was through genetic scripting. We would grow all types of meat and seafood in large aluminum tanks. So you could buy lobster, crab, filet mignon, or whatever, but it would always be sold in a rectangle shape in a shrink wrap package. This would eliminate the need to drift net the seas or slaughter livestock. Also, with the advent of nanotube construction that's 10 times stronger and lighter than steel, many new types of buildings will be feasible at a much cheaper cost of construction. For example, agriculture will go indoors with huge multi-floored warehouses with farming equipment on overhead electric tracks that move from floor to floor and from building to building to harvest and till, with controlled indirect sunlighting, watering, and because it's indoors, it eliminates the needs for pesticides. Another idea was that toxic substances of all kinds like dioxin and nuclear waste would be taken up a space elevator and launched into designated craters on the moon.
Interesting. What about global warming then?
Trying to sequester enough CO2 to alleviate the planet from global warming would be a massive undertaking because mountains of CO2 are released every year. A much easier and permanent way of eliminating global warming is a geoengineering idea that came from someone else. That by launching a spacecraft to deploy a sun shield at the Lagrange, the gravitational midpoint between the sun and the Earth, we'll be able to reduce the energy reaching the Earth by a small percentage. Enough so that we'll use it like a thermostat by remotely reducing or increasing the shield to control the overall temperature of the planet. So there's no risk of global warming or an ice age.
Well, how about our living situation? Will people still live in houses and apartments in your mind?
I don't see that, although obviously we'll still recreate in parks and resorts. But instead of having individual cars and houses at ground level, what I see are people residing in living units connected to an overhead electric transport system. Built using the nanotube structures I mentioned earlier, condos will be connected to the spaces between the support posts, so windows and decks will look out onto the land below. In this manner, we will spread out along transportation routes rather than being so concentrated in huge cities. One benefit will be that no one's house will ever get flooded like they did in New Orleans. In this living arrangement, you could safely watch the flood from your condo.
Very interesting. How would the transport units work?
The transport units or rail autos would hold up to 6 people and be generic, which would eliminate theft. So you would jump in one and then drop it off wherever. You'd program where you want to go into a memory stick at your computer, insert the stick, and the computerized system would transport you to the location, encoded without you needing to operate it. This would eliminate people getting injured or killed in accidents and reduce the expense of insurance. You can even hit a button to shield the windows from light and sleep on an overnight trip. If the onboard camera recognizes someone wanted by the police, it's locked and routed to a police station. You could order sushi and it'd be delivered to your unit in a vac unit 20 minutes later. Laundry would be dropped into another vac tube and you'd get back that later in the day.
Interesting. Services there.
Yeah.
What would happen to all the houses and buildings?
Manufactured buildings would still be located at ground level along separate manufacturing transport routes. Malls will be part of the main transport line, but eventually most ground-based homes, roads, and fences will be removed, And when you get home from school or work, you can go out on the deck and watch the wildlife below. In this manner, we'll have our futuristic needs met, but at the same time provide for a planet overflowing with biodiversity that's unimpeded by artificial boundaries. Wouldn't it be a wonderful sight to once again to be able to view huge herds of animals freely grazing? Of course, you also have to be open to the idea you might see a carnivore taking down a prey species. Imagine this, an overhead line running out and along the coast. You'd actually be looking back at the shoreline from just outside the breakers, watching the seals and seabirds, and then at a moment's notice transport farther along the coast or back inland.
Oh, yeah, well, that could be beautiful. What about energy production for this advanced civilization?
Instead of using oil, which is getting ever more expensive to extract, we'll use a genetically modified microbe scaled up to mass produce a substitute liquid fuel, which will be used as a form of energy prior to the widespread use of electrical energy from fusion reactors. It'll be carbon neutral, so it won't contribute to global warming.
Great. What will happen to all the dirty forms of energy like oil, coal, biodiesel, and ethanol?
Obsolete. All of it.